Hello there, Mike Grabham here again, talking about how to develop your new product. So today we're going to talk about how your business works and how you make money as a business. So the first thing you need to understand is how much people are willing to pay for your product. So whether it's a product or service, so you need to figure that out really early on. Okay, I have a product, I have a service, what are people willing to pay for it? So if you don't have any competitors, you don't have any knowledge, it's a brand new product, then you have to go out and figure that out. So the way you figure that out is, and I've talked about briefly in other videos, is you got to go talk to people, and they have to be strangers, not your friends and relatives. Go talk to 50, 75, 100 strangers about your product and see what they're going to be willing to pay for it. What are they going to pay for it? Whether it's a product or service or a piece of hardware, whatever it is, what are they willing to pay for that product? And if you talk to 100 people on the street, I will guarantee you, you will start to learn what people are willing to pay and what they're not willing to pay. So that is how you figure out your pricing for something that's never been built before. Obviously, if you have competitors that are doing different things, then you can use theirs as somewhat of a guideline. So that's how you figure your pricing out. It's not necessarily hard, but it does take some time. You do have to make a lot of effort to make sure you can figure out your pricing. So the second thing about that pricing is how many people are willing to pay. So how many of those people are willing to pay? So if, let's just say you have, everybody you talk to says I'm willing to pay something for it. Well, that's great. That's a great product. But if you don't have a lot of people willing to pay for it, it's probably not one of those businesses what they call scalable, if it's not scalable. So, venture capitalists and investors talk about, is it scalable? It's okay to have a business it's not necessarily going to sell millions of product. You can still make a great living selling hundreds of thousands of products. So don't be too concerned about that, that mentality. But you have to understand that to your business model and to yourself, what that looks like, so you can be clear on that. And secondly is how much does your product cost to make? Super important to understand that. So here we go. So if it's a hardware product, fairly simple. You have a building material as a BOM cost, right? So that's fairly straightforward. Certain materials cost X, engineering costs X, testing costs Y, and shipping. See, it's fairly straightforward of what a hardware product costs. You got prototypes, you got molding, all those things you have to build, but it is pretty straightforward. So that is a fairly simple hardware cost. Now, if it's a software or a service, software, as you know, it can cost, the upfront cost can be fairly high, but once it's built, you can load lots of customers on top of that, and hence why investors and many entrepreneurs like the software business, because you can build it once and add millions of customers. So that cost is, it's low. I mean, sometimes 10%, maybe 5%, sometimes 2%. It just depends on the scale, the number of widgets you're selling. And then, of course, the service is a little harder to understand because you may have people doing a service. So that's, again, a little harder, but you can figure that out by just literally watching people do things and understanding how long they take to do a certain task. So, if they're cleaning houses, how long does it take a person to clean a house? And you can start to understand that's what it's going to cost, because you have to pay a customer, employee to clean that house. So you can kind of scale it out and pretty simply understand that. So those costs are super important, as you would guess, to understand. But also understand not just the product cost for your business model, it's also a marketing cost and operational cost. So marketing cost is what many people just maybe don't understand, or maybe don't put enough money into marketing. So for hardware, there's kind of a general rule, and this is, again, it's a very general rule. It's a third and a third and a third. If you can build it for a third and market it for a third, then you've probably got enough profit and operating money in the other third to make it a real business. With software, as I said, your operating costs are fairly low. So you have a lot of margin there. So maybe you can spend a little more than a third for your marketing, although when you get 30 to 40% of your marketing costs to spend on a software product, you're probably not doing it right. There's probably some marketing issues you're having. And then a service is, again, very similar to the hardware. A third and a third and a third. Again, these are very general rules. They're not stuck in concrete, but it does give you a good idea. If you're spending 50% on your marketing to get customers, you're probably spending too much on almost any type of business. So again, you got to understand that in operational courses, operations of you as a employee, your employees, your rent, et cetera, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So understand all those costs, but that's how you build that business model. So you understand, can I make a business that makes money out of this concept, out of this idea, out of this new product or service? So that's really the kind of the basics of that. So until next time, thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to share this on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, wherever you may share that. I appreciate it. And subscribe to my new YouTube channel. And we're trying to build great products for people and trying to save them time, trying to save them money, trying to save them aggravation of creating new products. So thanks a lot. Until next time, have an amazing day. Bye-bye.